Again, if you're just tuning in, this was at 10:45 this morning. The Philadelphia Fire Department started to get calls of a collapse here at South 22nd Street, 22nd and Market in Center City. At least a couple of buildings have collapsed here. There are reports of people trapped, as many as 8 to 10. Action News reporter David Henry is there on the scene now. David, give us some idea of what you're seeing.
Yeah, what we're seeing, of course, is a lot of chaos, a lot of emergency personnel here in the middle of the intersection of 23rd and Market Streets. Let's take a look behind me here. You can see some of the activity going on back there. Police, fire personnel, rescue personnel. They've got dogs here that can sniff for people inside that rubble. Right now, you might see a gaggle of firefighters in the thrift store itself on the corner here. You see that, Amy? And they're all kind of in that one area right now, concentrating a little bit of a search in there. Plus, behind that building, there is another collapsed structure, completely collapsed. Looks to be about a one-story commercial structure where you'll see more firefighters back in that corner, also looking for possible people. I just spoke to Commissioner Chuck Ramsey just a little while ago, and what he knows so far is that there were people in there. They don't know how many yet. It is a commercial structure. It's a thrift store for the Salvation Army. Plus, behind that, if we can look up above that building, you can see the back of what appears to be a couple of old row houses that may have been converted into apartments or office space that appear to have collapsed. The back of that has collapsed in on the commercial structure that's at the corner of 22nd and Market. So right now it's just a matter of us staying clear. The police are trying to keep everybody back as far as possible. A large crowd of spectators is gathered at this intersection. We spoke to a couple of guys who were working at a nearby condo. They said they heard the noise, went rushing over. They were able to pull a couple of people out of the debris, but obviously there's a lot of debris that came down here, and other people are possibly under some very heavy pieces of structure that will take some time. We can see firefighters in the background there digging by hand as they remove brick by brick, splinter by splinter, trying to get to something in the back there. So there's an indication that there may be one or more persons that are trapped in the back of the building. It's hard to get any numbers because police and fire personnel here have no idea how many people might have been in either of these structures before the collapse. And of course, it's way too early to determine what might have caused it. We do know there was no explosion, nothing like that preceding the collapse. The building just caved in and sent up a tremendous roar that sent people running to see if they could help. And you see a frantic rescue effort going on in two locations here right now, one inside the thrift store itself and one in the pile of debris behind it. A very, very serious situation. Police, fire personnel, rescue personnel, all of them pitching in right now, trying to get a handle on it. But this may be a painstaking operation. They've got to be careful about what they remove and how they remove it to prevent any further collapse. These firefighters right now you see back there are all risking their lives at the moment because there's no telling how stable the rest of that structure may be, but they are right in it, digging away with the real possibility that more of this structure could come down on top of them. So it's a dangerous situation. It's a developing situation, and the police are trying to keep the public as far away as possible because they need room to breathe and work here, and this could go on for hours. So that's the scene we're seeing here for now, and you've seen a lot of it from Chopper 6. We'll keep our camera going and give you an idea of this ground activity, but that's all we know right now. We're waiting for an update from Fire Commissioner Lloyd Ayers. He's supposed to be coming over to our location in a few minutes to try to give us a briefing, but as you can see, it's a very, very fluid situation, and he is probably thin on information himself right now. Won't know much more until these rescue workers complete their work and find out what exactly it is they're dealing with here. You can see in the middle of the street where this battalion chief's vehicle would move. In the middle of the street, they're pulling some rather large pieces of debris away from the building right now. That debris collapsed with such weight and force that it hit the top of a light pole, a light standard, and pulled that down and bent it down completely across the street. So the debris looks like it collapsed outwards into the street and backwards towards the rear of the building. So it's an extensive collapse scene we're dealing with here right now, and we have an army of firefighters really pulling it apart piece by piece right in the middle of the street. So what you're seeing is what we're seeing, a very frantic rescue effort out here right now. These guys are in there hand over fist trying to do what they can to get to any survivors, anybody that might be trapped underneath that debris right now. And once again, we say this activity is going on two different fronts. The thrift store itself is still partially standing, but there are about a dozen or so firefighters inside that store, a very dangerous situation, digging through debris in the store right now. Now, we can see through the windows where they're dumping out buckets of debris that the entire ceiling has either three-quarters or halfway collapsed down into that part of the building. But the wall on the right is leaning dramatically to the right, outward, and that is the fear here, that any part of the structure could continue to collapse at any time. It all happened so suddenly that there's no telling what might happen again. And so these firefighters right in that building right now, risking their lives, digging through that debris, hoping to find survivors. They do have dogs here, detection dogs, that are probably giving them hits on where people are but we don't know if the firefighters are able to hear people in there right now. It's a rather chaotic and loud scene where we are with all the fire apparatus and police personnel around. But so we're not able to hear if anybody is calling out to the firefighters, if that's why they're concentrating their search where they are right now, or if they've got some other kind of evidence, either through the dogs detection or some empirical idea of where these people might be, if there are any people indeed still trapped in there. So once again, emergency personnel covering this intersection, doing everything they can to frantically clear away debris, hoping to save lives. Hopefully there are people still alive in there, and the best hope is that nobody was inside, but we do know that there were some people in there. Just how many remains to be seen. They do not have an accurate count of any kind yet.
All right, David, thank you.